Right, so welcome everybody to our launch of the Severed Souls anthology, um, which is our latest Space Cat title. We're very excited to now have copies of this to launch, and this is our book birthday event on our YouTube channel. So we're really delighted to have one of our Space Cat stars here with us today, which is Monica Wang. And Monica, you've got two stories, in fact, two lovely flash fiction pieces in the anthology. Um, so thank you very much for joining us today, so we can have a chat to you about that.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Um, okay, so let's just start with the theme for the anthology is aliens and otherness. And when we put out the submission call, we asked you to reflect on the emotions that either aliens or otherness evoked in you and to write from that place. So you've got two stories. One of them is called Insects, and one of them has the absolutely brilliant title, No One Reads Misconnections Anymore, but Here Goes, which is just, that immediately is very arresting. And if I see that in the contents, I definitely want to go and read that one. So what was it about the Aliens and Otherness theme that sparked something off for you in your writing?
I I feel like that's a lot of time that's just what I keep writing about, people who don't fit in
Right.
properly.
Yeah.
Even normal seeming people who are just a bit kind of off inside and they're going through life not quite doing the right things or not quite saying or thinking the right things.
Right. Oh, that's very interesting. So it was really the otherness as much as the alien side of it, really, that was working on your imagination there. That sense of literally not fitting quite into the skin and, yeah, feeling a little bit on the outside of things. That's very interesting. Yeah. Um, so when we were thinking about this anthology theme, we were thinking about the place that aliens have within our culture, not just within science fiction, but, films, music, fashion. I mean, it seems to have this is a figure that seems to really have quite a hold on our imagination. And I wondered if you had any thoughts about why it's such a kind of powerful idea within our culture, the alien.
Uh, are we talking about literal aliens?
Um, Actually, that's a very good point because there are a lot of people who believe that aliens have already landed or they've been abducted by aliens, or there's all of that as well, isn't there? As well as the way that it's fictionalized within our culture. Yeah, that's a good point. So either of those, really. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like most people say they want there to be aliens because they would feel less alone on Earth.
Ah, that's very interesting. Yeah.
And I think it makes a lot of people sad. Okay, whenever I say this, STEM scientists always argue that it's nonsense, but I think it makes a lot of normal people sad to think that we're on this tiny planet in this
Yeah.
enormous universe and there's
Mhm.
nothing else out there, like nothing else living.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that idea's come up quite a lot actually
Yeah.
in the chats I've been having with some of our authors about the aliens. Uh, yeah, so that we're not alone. Also interesting actually, because one of our authors has just done a blog, which I think went out today on our Space Cat website, talking about the experience of being othered as a migrant and how it's that kind of not quite fitting in with the culture perhaps of your parents, but also not quite fitting in with the culture that you find yourself in the middle of and not quite being sort of accepted by either. And one of the things she was saying, and this was Abida Akram, was that she really found it very helpful to look at the way that aliens were represented within science fiction, that actually kind of gave her some sort of consolation and something that helped her to kind of form her sense of self, uh, in the middle of all of that
I can
othering.
I can see that. I mean, I think a lot of science fiction about alien planets make me feel really small and alone too.
Yes.
But when you think about, when you, like, after you read it, there's this sense that you're here surrounded by so many other people.
Yes.
And even if you don't quite fit in, you still at least fit in better than aliens do.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's comforting in a way.
Yeah, because I guess the story of the alien is this kind of extreme othering, isn't it? It's this extreme either curiosity or fear or whatever it is. Yeah.
And no matter how poorly I fit in the UK or wherever, at least I'm not out on some other planet.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think for us in the theme as well, and in the way that people wrote in response to it, a lot of the stories really made you sort of reflect on how we identify as humans, and what is human, and where is that boundary, and all of that as well. So it's very rich with potential, really, for all of that kind of exploration of identity. So the otherness and the other inside of it really features then quite strongly in the way that you're thinking about the aliens in your story as well, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, insects is the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
That started as a story about literal aliens taking over people through holes in their heads.
Yeah.
But I think you can also read the ending as this person who is just not fitting in properly, having this weird paranoia about everyone around her.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that really comes across in the story, and in the way that other people are like, why aren't you fitting in, and why can't you accept this, and the way that comes across in the story as well. So one of the things that I was really interested in is that the two stories that you've done for the Severed Souls anthology are pieces of flash fiction, and I really admire your ability to compress or realize the story in I mean, one of them is just one page of the anthology, um, and I wondered whether there was something about the story concept that you had, or writing about aliens, that lent itself to that form of flash fiction.
Well, I started writing in flash fiction, so I feel like I'm better at writing concisely than actually filling out pages. But for the No One Reads Misconnections Anymore piece, I feel like since I'm writing from the perspective of this person who is really strange, among people who are presumably equally strange, it's probably harder to sustain that over a longer story.
Yeah. That's very interesting. So in a way, the flash fiction is a kind of comfort zone for you as a writer. For me, reading it, the flash fiction pieces that we've had on this theme of aliens have been the weirdest and the most unsettling and the most ambiguous, which is fantastic. We really liked that about the flash fiction pieces that came through, and that made them quite different from the short story pieces that we have within the collection. Whereas you say there's probably more kind of doing world building and fleshing out the context of the story and so on. But I think nearly all of the flash fiction pieces we've got are somehow really profoundly unsettling, and something about the compression of the form itself, that you just get kind of hints and little things dropped in, and then they just really stay with you afterwards, and that is very, very true of your stories, Monica. The other thing that strikes me about the form, if I look particularly at No One Reads Misconnections Anymore, but Here Goes, is that you've based this on a kind of misconnections ad, and it's got that structure, hasn't it? So the structure of the story is built around that. So you've got little headings like who, where, when, what, and additional notes. Was that fun to play with, that kind of structure for the story?
Yes, I usually don't I don't think I write a lot of stories where they're based on existing formats. I
Yeah.
think, does this count as hermit crab fiction? Possibly?
Yes, I think so. I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love the playfulness of it. I mean, it's a very dark story, but it is very playful and kind of tongue in cheek as well. Yeah, and has got a great sting in the tail at the end as well.
I also like that this format forces it to be short, because those ads can't be that long anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you have a story where there's technically no normal person in there. The reader, I guess, is the normal person.
Yes.
Looking at this. And
oh, that's very interesting, because that's the next thing that I was going to ask you about is about Viewpoint, because it really struck me when we were reading the submissions that this theme of writing about aliens poses a challenge for each writer, as do I write in the viewpoint of the alien, and how do I convey, an alien sensibility through the language or form of my story, or do I write from a human kind of observer of the alien, and then how do I kind of get the strangeness of the alien within the story? And I think it's right in saying for both of the stories you've taken a kind of human viewpoint, haven't you?
For insects, yes. For misconnections, I feel like the reader is possibly the human, because the person writing the ad isn't.
Yeah, there is that phrase in the story. My bloodline's just hosting them for a few generations, and it's like so creepy. The whole idea of the alien possession. The one thing that struck me looking at the two stories back to back is that the attitude of the character at the center of the story towards aliens is completely opposite. I mean, one of the characters is profoundly spooked and unnerved by the idea of alien possession, whereas the character in the other story is like, yeah, whatever. It's a completely different take on the same kind of experience, really. Yeah.
I really wanted to make sure my two pieces were very different from each other.
Yes.
Also, so it would be more of a fun challenge for me to write them too.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah. So you wrote them specifically for this theme?
The insects one, it was previously published in another magazine that's defunct now.
Right.
But I've significantly rewritten it. So
right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I feel like the person posting the misconnections ad doesn't see how any of it is weird. So she's doing this in a very like, it's all normal. It's all the only thing the only thing that's kind of off is her skin condition, but she's trying to play it off.
I mean, it's so macabre and weird, but the way that she's so dismissive, or they, or whatever, is so dismissive of the weirdness, is what gives it that kind of real edge. Yes, brilliant. I love that story.
That's also why I don't think it would work if it were longer, though, because wouldn't that
I'm sure you're right.
Tedious?
But for such short stories, they really resonate and they really stay with you afterwards. Okay, so kind of that's been really interesting, kind of exploring your approach to the two stories. But just pulling back from that and kind of rounding off with a much more general question. Do you think there is life out there, aliens of whatever kind, out there in the universe? And does it matter to us, really?
Okay, this is a problem with knowing too many scientists, I guess.
Yes.
Because a lot of my friends are quantum scientists and astrophysicists.
Right.
And they say there's a high probability that there has been or will be life in the universe.
Yes.
But the probability that they're living right now at the same time as we are is lower.
Right. So
because the universe is so old and large.
That's quite interesting, because I think one of the other authors was saying one of the problems is the huge distances between Earth and wherever else life, sentient life or whatever might be found. But you're also talking about the distances in terms of time, which is really interesting as well. So the possibilities of any kind of collision or first contact then are much more tenuous when
I mean, in general, I believe there's other life out there, but
Yes.
yeah.
And if it's so tenuous, does it matter to us?
Yes, because if you're told absolutely there's no other life out there,
Yeah.
I don't know, isn't that just sad? And also,
Yes, that comes back to what you were saying earlier, that kind of thing of we're not alone.
yeah, and also I think feeling motivated to try to contact other civilizations, or at least leaving traces of ours, is a big thing in culture, like for culture, human culture.
Yeah. There was that program, wasn't there, where sort of citizen astronomers were involved in trying to kind of decode any potential signals coming back from space to see if there was anything that was unusual or an
Oh,
anomaly of some kind.
have they found anything?
I don't know. I don't believe so. I don't believe so. But it was, it was interesting that they were getting kind of ordinary people, anybody on their computer was involved in just kind of sifting through some of this data, and to be part of that project of reaching out to see if there was anything out there at all.
I think, yeah, technology's been advancing enough that ordinary people can do this too. There's this guy on Twitter who takes pictures of planets on his own telescope, and over the years, like, he's taken much clearer and more detailed photos. And he's not even an astrophysicist or anything.
Yeah,
Just
I'm very struck by the increasing role of citizen astronomy, in kind of interacting with and supporting what scientists are doing out there as well. Yeah.
Also, do you believe there are aliens?
I think mathematically speaking or whatever, it is clear that there is real potential for some kind of alien life to be out there. I tend to think it's so kind of remote that it's not really kind of going to impinge directly on us at this point in time. So I don't see it as something we're kind of immediately going to be dealing with. But yeah, I'm sure. I don't think it'll necessarily be alien life in the way we've encountered it within science fiction.
Right. Oh yeah. I was told that if there were aliens, they're probably just bacteria and stuff.
Yeah, that is what I was thinking about, the way that you have these kind of quite different terrains on different planets and astral bodies and moons and so on. And so it is likely to be alien life in a very different form from that which we've encountered in science fiction. But yeah, the mystery of it, is very much still out there, still something to, as you say, that we're not alone. And also when you think about the mess we're making of our planet at the moment, yeah, you hope there is other life somewhere out there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's ending on a very sad note.
Well, so cautiously optimistic that yes, yeah, that the potential for life, even in the rest of the solar system, we keep discovering more water and things like
Yeah.
that. So it is clear that that potential is there. Yeah, and I'd like to think this wasn't the or will not be the only instance where life has formed somewhere, in the universe. Yeah. Thank you very much, Monica, for joining us for that chat and for kind of giving us some insights into your writing process and your thoughts about the alien and the other as well. So that's been great. I've really enjoyed chatting to you, Monica, and it's always lovely to actually see our authors face to face after all these emails that have been going back and forwards for so long.